Welcome on in to First Pitch for the 31st of July. Can't believe it's done already. I'm your host here, Dan Alexander, and we are going to be breaking down 5 games for you here on the MLB slate. Talking a little LA Angels and Atlanta Braves, the Boston Red Sox taking on the Seattle Mariners, the Tampa Bay Rays at the New York Yankees, my Philadelphia Phillies visiting the Miami Marlins, and finally a best bet in the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Who's going to be breaking it down? Got a great trio of experts for you. Marco D'Angelo, Dwayne Bryant, and Steve Merrill. Guys, is there an echo in here? Because I feel like Marco D'Angelo and Steve Merrill were just on WagerTalk today. So if you want some more info on the baseball slate, why not check that out when you're done, of course, here with First Pitch. Marco, we're going to kick it off with you here on a $9 Monday. You got a big game breakdown in that aforementioned Rays and Yankees game, and it seems like it's all about consistency for this one, right? Rays, 7 out of their last 23 they've been able to scrape a win. The Yankees, it seems like it's just to judge or not to judge. So 9-3 loss they're coming off of against the Orioles. Marco, welcome on in on a Monday, and how are you betting this one, man?
Well, looking at this one, guys, I'm looking at the starting pitching matchup with this one. Both teams are coming off big weekend series. As you had Tampa went to Houston, a lot of people at the beginning of the season, especially the way Tampa got off to their quick start, thought that Tampa and Houston might be a preview to the ALCS. And then, of course, the Yankees played last night on Sunday Night Baseball. They were playing Baltimore, the big surprise this year, the Orioles, as well as they are playing. So both are ripe for a little bit of a letdown, but it's a big division game, so I don't expect it. And when we look at the starting pitching matchup, there really isn't a matchup because Tyler Glasnow is on the mound for Tampa, and he has been just absolutely sensational. I get sick every time I watch him pitch. Another former Pittsburgh Pirate that got away from us. But he has been a beast. When he come off the injured list, they took their time with him. They put him on strict pitch counts, and it's paying dividends because now he's throwing 6 and 7 innings, and he has been dealing it. He's only had one game this year out of the 11 starts where he's given up more than 3 runs. In fact, 6 of the 11 starts, he's given up 0 or 1 run this year. Now, on the other side of the hill, you want to talk about Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, is you got Domingo Germán on the mound for the Yankees. Which one's going to show up? Well, the last 2 starts, he's given up 11 runs in 12 innings. Or you can go back 5 starts and he pitched a perfect game. Now, granted, that perfect game came against the Oakland A's. So do we have to put a little bit of an asterisk against that one? I'm going to trust Glasnow here in this one. And I don't want to put the bullpens into play in this one. Take them out of the equation. I'm looking at a first 5-inning wager here. And here's a little stat on the Yankees. 9 times this year, they've allowed 9 runs or more like they did last night. In the next game following giving up that many runs, they're just 1-8 this season. Let's go ahead and take Tampa Bay first 5.
Marco looking at the one who got away. First 5 here, the Tampa Bay Rays in the first 5 going up against the New York Yankees. Check him out, WT.buzz/MD. Dwayne Bryant, the lone member of our dais that wasn't on Wager Talk today, but you have also some thoughts in this one. So is it as simple as just saying ditto what Marco said, or do you have a different bit of a look for us here in the Rays and Yankees? How's my man Dwayne breaking it down?
Well, I mean, I'm not betting this game. I just picked this matchup because it intrigues me, and it's based on the starting pitching matchup. If you and Marco mentioned a lot of this, you mentioned Domingo Germán. His last 2 starts, 12 innings pitched, gave up 11 runs and 4 homers. Now, I'm a guy that likes to buy low and sell high. So if there's ever a buy low spot on this guy, it's this one. One thing to note, he did have 18 strikeouts in those 12 innings. On the other side, Tyler Glasnow, he's off arguably his 2 best starts of the season. 14 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 17 strikeouts, a .71 whip. So this is a good sell high spot on him. Now, looking at this from the team aspect, the Rays won yesterday. They haven't won back-to-back games in more than 2 weeks. And this month alone, they're just 5-13 against teams with a winning record. And before yesterday, they hadn't scored more than 4 runs, or they scored 4 runs or less in 12 of their last 13 games. So then you look at the Yankees, and they got drilled on Sunday Night Baseball last night. And I didn't watch the game, but I heard it was 6-0 Baltimore before the Yankees even got an out. I can actually see that giving them some added motivation after getting punched in the face like that last night. I'm assuming Aaron Judge is going to be in the lineup tonight. He did sit out last night. Boone did say that he was going to sit out one game in that series, and last night was that game. So I'm expecting him to be back tonight. Something I do think that favors Tampa Bay here, though, is that the Yankees haven't faced Glasnow this season, but Tampa Bay has faced Herman twice already. Plus, Herman pitched pretty well in those 2 starts against Tampa Bay this season. So, can you really count on him to do it a third straight time? I'd normally bet against that. So, I'm not betting this game, like I said. The contrarian in me wants to take the Yankees just based on the buy low, help sell high spot we've got with these 2 starting pitchers. But I see enough on that Tampa Bay side to keep me off.
Yeah, so maybe a play would have been there until you had to follow up what you heard from our man Marco D'Angelo. Just enough to say, I'm intrigued by the game, but no play for me.
Yeah, Dan, I'm calling a foul on this one too, man. I picked that game, and Marco comes in behind me and picks that game, and then he gets to talk about it first, man. I see how it works here now. I'm getting a feel for how this is going to go down.
Marco, I feel like we're back on Bet On It. All of them calling you out in the notes. The timestamps, man, they don't lie, is what you always say, right?
They don't, but the problem is I already gave out 2 plays on the first show, and I didn't want to come back and double them up. There's only so many games, and I am selling one today. So, sorry, Dwayne.
Marco, man of the people, D'Angelo. He said, I have to find another game. I just can't keep giving out all the same plays. So it's just because Marco loves the viewers so much is what it comes down to. That's what I'm learning here. All right, Steve. I'm wondering what you're thinking here. As I mentioned in the top, I'm a homer, but I'm smart enough to not bet on the Phillies because if I did, I would have lost a little bit yesterday on the loss with the Pirates. Phillies and Marlins, and I'm intrigued to hear how you're breaking this down because intrigue is the name of the game in this series because the NL wild card, this is a big 4-game set for both of these teams. Phillies just a half game back despite being 2 spots down on them. So game 1 in a pretty big series for both of these fan bases and the NL wild card as a whole. How's Steve Merrill looking at this one?
Yeah, by the way, Dan, I tried to warn you guys that there was a double up on that big game breakdown. I very nicely warned everyone, so I knew there'd be tension. By the way, Marco does have a best bet for $9 Monday, so that means he's analyzed 5 of the 10 games. He's analyzed 50% of the baseball games tonight, so we'll give him a pass on that one. But yeah, Marco did have 2 different games. Brian Leonard, 2 different games as well on Wager Talk today. It was a great show. Myself and Andy Lang, guest host. So it was a Prez-free zone, so you're safe to go back and watch the replay here after the baseball show on Wager Talk TV. But I didn't talk too many breakdowns of games because I was saving them here for the show and had to talk about Dan's Phillies against Drew Martin's Miami Marlins, Joe Ranieri's Miami Marlins, whoever else is retired to South Florida. And look, these are 2 teams in the playoff hunt. The AL East is really good. We've talked about all 5 teams, by the way, on Wager Talk today in the AL East. So let's talk some NL East now. And this is how my weekend went. I had a best bet on the over in the Miami-Detroit game on Saturday, and the Marlins get shut out. They go 3-0 over on every other game on each side of that, putting up a combined 21 runs on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. And I picked the game. They get shut out 5-0. The good news is I did use a free play yesterday, the last game that was just a bit outside on the over between Detroit and Miami. And, of course, they put up 14 runs. So I won the free play, missed the best bet, just kind of how the weekend went. But the Miami Marlins are in good current form offensively. Those other 3 games, other than that shutout, as I said, 21 runs, and they had a combined 36 hits in those 3 games. So can't always just look at one game. You got to look at a 3, 4, 5-game sample to really see a team's current offensive form. And I think it's pretty good here. And now let's look at your Philadelphia Phillies, Dan. This team has had single-digit hits now in 11 straight games. Now, they have put up 4 runs or more in 4 of their last 5, but they're not putting the ball in play. So you look at this game right now, the total's around 8, 8.5. I would lean over just because Miami's offense is in good current form. The game is a pick-em, minus 110 each side. So what would you expect the team total to be? Pretty equal, right? Well, right now you can get the team total on the Phillies 4.5 under team total Marlins 3.5 to the over. Now I know it's juiced each way, but that makes no sense. This game is a pure pick 'em. You look at the WagerTalk live odds screen right now. Phillies are $1.15 in some spots, but most books have -110 each way. And you're getting a 4.5 versus a 3.5 with the hotter offense. So I think the best way to play this, I don't mind the game over, but if you have access to team totals, Miami Marlins over 3.5 makes some sense to me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. That's Steve Merrill. He's got a code for you, MLB 30. Get you a 30-day MLB package for just $139. He'll tell you a little bit about that a little later here in the show because it's best bet time here already. And we'll have a little bit more echo here. So unfortunately, Marco, you might be getting some more grief from the guys, but I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this Angels and Atlanta Braves matchup because big favorite. What are over 215 on the money line, -215. That is for the Braves with Morton on the mound. But that total is also pretty big, sitting at 10. And that's the way you're looking. How are we betting this one, Marco?
Well, you're looking at the Braves, and they're coming off of just an absolute slugfest weekend with Milwaukee. If you look at those 3 games over the weekend, all 3 total runs scored, how about 17, 16, and 14 runs? So they're getting it done offensively. Problem is they're giving up a lot of runs as well. And you burn through a bullpen when you have a series like that. And then you don't have a day off. You're coming right back and starting a new series on Monday. That tends to have a carryover effect with the bullpens being overworked like that. So I am going to look the only way I can look at this one over. And whenever I look at the starting pitching, if you go on recent form, probably going to be into those bullpens rather quickly. Charlie Morton's coming off of 2 bad games in a row. He's given up 8 runs in his last 9 innings of work. His last outing, he only lasted 3 2/3 innings. And the problem for him has been in those games control. He walked 8 batters, only struck out 5 in those last 2 starts. You can't have more strikeouts than walks, and giving up that many walks when you put people on base, bad things have a tendency to happen, and you don't want to have that happening to this Angel lineup. Now, uncharacteristically, the Angels had some low-scoring games in Toronto. You would have thought on paper that those would have been high-scoring games, but they might have peaked a little bit too early when they had that doubleheader sweep on Thursday in Detroit when they had to play the makeup game from the rainout the day before, winning both ends of that doubleheader, and then going to start a new series the very next day. Unique situation for them. But I look for them to have success tonight in Atlanta, and the way the Braves are scoring runs, only one way to look. And you want some stats to back the over? Well, Charlie Morton, when he pitches at night the last 2 seasons, the Braves are 22-9 to the over. Atlanta, when they're a home favorite of 175 or more, how about 17-5 to the over this season? And throw one in for the Angels there. I told you they had a couple low-scoring games. Well, when the Angels have scored 3 runs or less in 3 straight games, the last 2 seasons in their very next game, 15-4 to the over. That's the only way I can go. Let's go over, Rover, for Monday night.
I love it. I love the breakdown there. And yeah, as you mentioned, even with that little slump from the bats from the Angels, if you even look at their last 38 away games on the road, still, I think it's around a 13% ROI towards the over. They've hit that 20 of their last 38. So even with that recent slump, season long, really saying, hey, could be worth a look towards the over, even as it's sitting at 10. Well, Dwayne, you also want to talk this Angels and Atlanta game, but smart enough to look through the notes and say, I'm not going to talk about the total. You have a look here in the first 5 as, you heard Marco talking about the pitching a little bit there. You think you find some edge in the starting pitching because your look again in the first 5 here. Which way are you looking?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Braves' first 5. I like that run line. It was -130. I believe it's -130 now. When you look at the Angels on the surface, it looks like they're playing pretty well, 9-3 out of their last 12. But that included 5-1 at home against the Yankees, who were struggling without Aaron Judge, and 3 games with the Pirates, who were 11-27 on the road since April 30th. They also had a sweep in Detroit against the Tigers in that 12 games, and the Tigers are 12 games under 500. So when the Angels finally had to face a decent team, they lost 2 out of 3 at Toronto this past weekend. Now they got to take another step up in class here to play the Braves in Atlanta. Speaking of the Braves, 23-13 in home night games against right-handed starting pitchers, averaged 6.4 runs per game in those games. Marco mentioned they just swept Milwaukee, scored 10, 11, and 8 runs, and averaged 14 hits in that 3-game series. Never a bad idea to ride a hot-hitting team. Then you look at the starting pitching, which in a first 5 bet, that's about as important as it gets. You look at Canning, he's off 2 decent starts, but again, that was against Detroit and the Yankees. The start prior to that, he was in LA against the Dodgers, only lasted 2 2/3 innings, gave up 3 home runs and 4 runs altogether. So with Atlanta's potent offense and the way that they're hitting right now, it sure looks to me like Canning should be struggling in this one. And his road numbers already leave much to be desired. And then you look at Charlie Morton. Now, yeah, Marco mentioned he's off back-to-back subpar starts. Only lasted 9 1/3, gave up 8 runs, 8 walks. So this looks like a great bounce back or buy low spot to me. He hasn't made 3 straight subpar starts this season. Looking at the head-to-head aspect, the current Atlanta hitters own a 308 average and a 419 weighted on-base average against Canning, while the Angels hitters own a 208 average and a 284 weighted on-base average against Morton. So to tie this all together, a little situational angle here. Road teams that scored and allowed 3 runs or less in their last game and are taking on an opponent that scored 7 runs or more in 3 straight games, those teams are just 10-33 in the history of the SDQL database. So I'm not a big fan of the -1.5 full game run line for home teams, but I do like the Braves' first 5 run line in this game.
Yeah, first 5 run line, and that one looking like it's already on the move. Juice getting higher and higher by the moment. So if you want to ride with Dwayne, check that out and get that sooner rather than later. And speaking of riding with Dwayne, guys, the Philadelphia Eagles, they dropped their Kelly Green jerseys today, their reveal video. So I have football on the mind, and so do the clients of our man Dwayne Bryant. He's got a choose your freebie special that you can check out over at his page. If you buy his college football, you can get the NFL season for free, and vice versa. You buy the college football season package, you can get his Major League Baseball, or if you get the college football and NFL season package, you get the rest of his baseball season for free. So 3 ways to get free. You can choose which one. You can choose your own destiny book for Dwayne Bryant. Check him out. WT.buzz/DB. And Steve, we mentioned you have a code of your own that you have rocking MLB 30, but I'd also like to find out what you have rocking in this Blue Jays and Orioles game. It's Bassett and a 3.91 ERA against Kyle Gibson and his 4.68 ERA when the Blue Jays are hosting the Orioles. So what do you think? Could pitching be the different in this one, or you see something else that's making your eyes look towards one of these sides?
Let's look at a free play tonight. Free play for Monday night, July the 31st. Last day of July, August around the corner. And of course, college and pro football is about to start. NFL starts in just a few days with the preseason. So check out those all sports specials at WagerTalk. But if you want to build some money with baseball while it's still here, get a 30-day for just $139. That's an instant $50 discount with promo code MLB30. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. And we are going to look at a free play in the Blue Jay Oriole game tonight on Monday. And this is a situational setup for me, instantly looking to play against the Orioles, which is not something I say often because they've been the most profitable team in baseball the past 2 years. Best moneymaker in baseball. I respect that. I think they are for real, but this is a tough spot tonight. Big 3-game home series against the Yankees this past weekend. And keep in mind, they were on the road for that right before that 7 games at Tampa and Philly. So they came home briefly for just 3 games, and now they're traveling again for a 4-game series in Toronto across the border in another country. And making it more difficult is they're coming off the Sunday night ESPN game in which they got off to a huge start, 6-0 before the Yankees even made an out. They rolled to a 9-3 win. It's a very emotional victory, a 2 out of 3 game win on this weekend series. I think this is a flat spot tonight. And then on top of that, I don't mind taking the Blue Jays, who are now in the playoffs as we speak in that ultra-competitive AL East. The starting pitcher tonight, Bassett, has a better ERA and whip than Gibson. So we're actually getting the better starter, get a much better situational setup. And we're getting a pretty hot Toronto team right now that has gone 5-2 their last 7. They've came back home against the Angels. They won 2 out of 3. Near miss yesterday by a run. But over their last 4 games, they're still 3-1 straight up, and they've outscored their opponents 20-5. And that includes winning 2 out of 3 in LA against the Dodgers earlier in the week, in which they put up 21 runs in 3 games. So the Blue Jays are in great current form. It's a good situational setup, and we have the pitching edge. Laid the short price tonight with the Toronto Blue Jays on Monday, -135, and that game goes at 7 p.m. Eastern. By the way, it's $9 Monday. I've got a powerful and even stronger MLB Steamroller Blowout for Monday night for just $9 on my page, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Love it. Steve Merrill, and you can check him out on today's edition of Wager Talk today alongside our man Marco D'Angelo up there. Where else are you going to get 4 baseball games broken down in like 20 minutes? Nowhere else but First Pitch right here on the Wager Talk TV YouTube channel. And we got one more for you because we have your Gold Sheet play of the day, and it's our 5th and final game of the day. We're taking a look at the Mariners hosting the Boston Red Sox. And we got a pitcher prop here from you from the goldsheet.com. We're looking towards George Kirby of the Mariners under the 5.5 strikeouts against the Red Sox this evening. According to the Gold Sheet, we're getting some good value. Kirby struck out 9 and 10 in his last 2 starts, but both of those starts came against the Twins. So if you look, they have the league's worst strikeout rate, maybe some inflation at this 5.5. And as far as the matchup, 10 of the last 13 right-handed starting pitchers to face the Red Sox have stayed under 5.5 strikeouts. And Boston, furthermore, has the 6th best strikeout rate against RHPs this season. So let's take a look at George Kirby under the 5.5 strikeouts against Boston. For more breakdowns just like this, head on over to thegoldsheet.com or head to wt.buzz/GS as football season is right around the corner. And that's going to do it for us here. Big thanks to Marco D'Angelo. Big thanks to our man Dwayne Bryant and Steve Merrill. You don't have to go anywhere to get some more baseball info. Wager Talk today right here on the Wager Talk TV YouTube channel. We'll see you tomorrow.